We've had Q, the Borg, in the evil verse, and with the crew trapped in this other dimension, it's been a great setup. So as always, I'm Al, this is the Geek in Review, and we're going to be talking about Picard, Season 2, Episode 3, Assimilation. So if you haven't seen it, this will contain spoilers. So the episode picks up pretty much straight away where we left off last week, with the President's husband has taken the ship, and Seven starts playing the role and pretending to be President again and telling him it's a classified operation, which I thought was actually pretty smart. But while all this is going on and they're arguing, Agnes hooks up the Borg Queen, and then the crew do some murders because they're back into the murdering thing in Picard. They didn't do it in the first episode, they done it a little bit in the second one, and now we're getting the full-on murders in the third one. But overall this episode is pretty good, so let's get back to it. So, if you remember from last week, Eleanor's injured, and I don't get why they don't try and activate the EMH that's on board. Raffi and Seven sure as hell ain't medics, but they managed to escape the battle, and it's all the stuff that we've seen from the trailers and they've been waiting on. There's not a lot that's really missing here, other than one very brief scene where Q pops up for a second to taunt Picard. And of course, the Borg Queen gets out, but Agnes for some reason doesn't let the others know. They only realise when they don't have control of the ship anymore. But anyway, she manages to do the slingshot round the sun, and I'll be honest, I was hoping we were going to get the CGI faces when they done it in A Voyage Home, but I guess that was a little bit too much of an Easter egg to ask. They throw everything else in, why not that much? And they arrive in the past, and I was kind of shocked that this happened so soon. I thought after last week's ending we're going to spend another week, or at least another part of an episode in the Mirrorverse, and hopefully get the Confederation fleshed out a little bit. I mean, yeah, they're a one-dimensional sociopathic Nazi empire, but it'd be nice to get a little bit of depth on these guys. So they crash land on Earth, actually where Shuttle Picard should be in the future, because Picard knows that no one's going to be there, so they're not really going to interfere with society, and as Agnes points out, they can't really land in the middle of downtown Los Angeles. And all I'll say is the La Sirena is a lot more sturdier than the Enterprise D during a crash. And the ship and everyone's fine, apart from Eleanor, who dies. So again, this is sort of sticking with my theory that they're taking stuff out of the show from season 1 that they didn't like, such as Soji. Eleanor's next. Will he be back? If you've seen this week's Star Trek Discovery, you know what I think about deaths in the franchise. I think, of course, we're going to see him back, at least it's more probable than not. This sort of Eleanor dying in the alternative timeline is very similar to Kirk's glasses in The Voyage Home. And Raffi even says something like that to Agnes: if they fix time, will it bring Eleanor back? So yeah, I think it's pretty likely that we're going to see Eleanor at the end of the season, if not in season 3. But just like me in the story, Picard wants to push on, and the Queen needs to regenerate, so the crew are divided on what they're going to do next. And Raffi, of course, isn't taking the Eleanor thing particularly well, and blames Picard and Q for causing all this. Now, she goes into a very sort of brief history of the dynamics of the relationship between Picard and Q over the years, and this is kind of odd because last week she didn't seem to have any idea who Q was. So I know I've got issues with the writers on Discovery, but Picard this season has been pretty tight, but stuff like this just bothers me. Why make her act as if she doesn't know who Q is one week, only for her to seem to have a complete familiarity with the relationship between Picard and Q the next? That's just a little annoying because they're not paying attention. So Picard and Agnes stay with the Queen while the others venture out into the past. And we got told last week by the Queen herself that there's a Watcher in 2044 to help the gang, and I figured this would be Guinan. In fact, I'm going to pitch this theory again. I think this is the same, well of course it's the same Guinan, but I think it's the Guinan that we've seen in Time's Arrow and Next Generation, and that she didn't leave Earth from that point up until now. Again, she's an El-Orian, she lives for thousands of years, so a couple of hundred here or there, or staying roughly in the one place, isn't going to be particularly huge. But we don't really get any information beyond that, but that's my theory and I'm sticking to it. So the Queen literally has network connectivity issues, and they even reboot her, but it turns out they need another mind to help, so Agnes volunteers. Now, there's been a theory going about that Agnes could be the Borg Queen, and I have to say, this week is sort of pressing that home. The whole thing last week about how Agnes interacted with the Borg Queen and what the Borg Queen said to Agnes and how Agnes looked at her, there's definitely something there, and the fact that we never seen the Borg Queen in episode 1 means that they're hiding it. So this week it definitely does weigh into it, and they're building some tension between these characters. Will they fake us out? I'm 50-50 on that one, if I'm honest. But anyway, the gang beam into LA and they all arrive at different locations because the story requires it. Rios actually materialises in mid-air, and I've always wanted to see what would happen with that in Star Trek, and yeah, it's pretty graphic, that's all I'm going to say about that. Go along with the murder theme, Raffi mugs a guy, he was trying to mug her, but whatever, back with the violence. And we see the first mention of the Europa mission on the wall. This has been sort of teased all the way through the trailers, but this is the first real look we've got at it in the episode. And my theory on this is it's linked to First Contact. This is when First Contact is actually going to happen in this timeline, and that is what's changed it and made it the Dark Dimension. Basically, humans made contact with Vulcans before we were ready, and bad things have happened. Am I going to be right about that? I don't know. But if you want to make sure I'm right or wrong, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out. But back on the ship, Picard takes Agnes on a Borg spirit quest. And while I don't think the writing here is particularly great, Alison Pill is actually really amazing, which is good enough to make me forget I didn't really like Agnes. Because, this season she hasn't murdered anyone yet, so good on her. But the Queen revives and she has a bit of a chat with him, and again, this is another weird thing. She refers to Picard as Locutus, but she treats him like Picard. She doesn't treat him like an ex-drone, which I thought was kind of odd. I don't know if that's just me. Let me know if you picked up on that or if it's just something that's in my head. But she wants the ship, and even the idea of having the Borg Queen conscious in this time is a nightmare. If she gets out and she touches one person, that is it. It's game over. It's like, Ripley and Aliens. If one of these things gets on the planet, we're all fucked, man. That's it. Game over. But maybe I was overreacting on that. I don't know. But they managed to get the information they need from the Borg Queen about how to locate the Watcher. And yeah, this episode was pretty good. There's another sort of storyline with Rios that I'm not going to get into because I wasn't a huge fan of it. I'm just going to see how it goes next week because I didn't really like what they were setting up there. But all in all, I think this was just as strong as the last two episodes of Star Trek Picard. It's good that we're getting into the time travel stuff, and yeah, it's good to see Q pop up. I'm going to do a few more videos on this and the whole season so far, so subscribe to make sure that you don't miss out, and if you made it this far, please leave a like on the video as well. It would mean so much, and thanks for watching.